To be honest, I'm pretty terrible at Geometry Dash. I struggle even with medium demons, but there's so many harder levels that interest me that I want to beat. So, to challenge myself, I've picked 16 medium demons to beat, 8 standard and 8 gauntlet levels. Let's keep the intro brief and get straight into the levels. Starting with Stroll, I beat Say It Back. Ever since this level was released, I've been obsessed with it. I was very glad to get good enough at the game to be able to beat it. There's not many levels like this. The music is very eccentric and this level matches the song perfectly. There's a lot of very flashy visuals and interesting imagery to complement the lyrics, making it incredibly satisfying to not only play but watch too. That's how I originally fell in love with this level. I'd go as far to call this level my favourite medium demon. I absolutely love the robot part at the halfway mark with this sandstorm kind of background effect. Probably my favourite section of the demon. This was also my 200th demon, which is cool. Next up is Ready. Quite quickly, you probably noticed this was an early 2.2 level, but the new pixel blocks doing most of the decorations heavy lifting. This level utilises the swing gameplay quite a bit, at least more than I was used to, so I enjoyed getting more familiar with the more difficult swing gameplay. My favourite part was definitely the ending swing part without any music. It's just the sound of lava collecting coins in the background while you try and keep your cool. After this I beat Beam, which is 99% of people's first demon. Both of the creators that made this, York and Scorch VX, have a cartoonish art style that I like quite a lot. It creates very memorable levels. I don't feel like I see very many levels like this anymore. Part of the reason why this level became so popular as a beginner medium demon in my opinion, is that the gameplay is quite tough for someone just starting out with medium demons, but it's incredibly clear what you have to do so it never gets frustrating. My fourth completion for this video was another 2.2 level, Crud. This is a mega collab with a slightly bizarre premise, being frogs. The various creators take you through various frog-related settings, starting in a funky swampy frog village and ending in some unsettling toxic sewers. In general, funky is a fitting word to sum up this level, exaggerated by the dozens of unique frog designs made by various talented 2D artists. There's also a split path around the middle, with the sewer path extending the spectacle of the ending sections, while the aqueduct path, the path I took, had more variety in its sections, my favourite being this weird psychedelic. With this completion I began to feel like medium demons were on these incredibly difficult, intimidating levels that I saw them as not that long ago, which was very satisfying. Now it's time for something completely different with Dash V2. As you can tell by the level name, this is a remade version of Robtop's most recent level, Dash. It certainly lives up to the original, and it feels like if Dash was even crazier. Sections like the ending tower climb and this spider path really contribute to the Dash bottom drugs feel. It reminds me of those layouts you see on YouTube just after the Sub-Zero came out, where every part had countless new 2.2 features rammed down your throat. With all the chaotic parts, I would probably consider this one of the harder medium demons I've done as of yet, but the craziness of the gameplay kept it feeling fresh and interesting. Math Step is a 2.2 Clubstep remake that I have mixed feelings with. It's a mega club that uses the original Clubstep layout, but each section has a unique theme that looks incredible and pushes the limits of the editor. The parts look largely disjointed from each other, but I don't think it detracts from the level too much, because to me, this level symbolises how limitless the 2.2 editor is. However, what does detract from this level is its questionable gameplay. There are some areas with ambiguous hitboxes and unforgiving transitions that made it frustrating to play. I struggled to get consistent, but I got quite lucky with my completion. I know with a level like this the gameplay isn't the main priority, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. A level with amazing visuals but bad gameplay is still a bad level. I absolutely love Well Rested. The decoration has a whimsical feel I can't quite describe, but it feels magical. I should also mention that this level is 7.5 minutes long, easily making it the longest level I've beaten. I've always been a fan of XL demons, the longer the better. The gameplay itself isn't as difficult, but the pure length of them makes them a huge mental challenge, and I love pushing myself with them. This level is mainly cube gameplay, so considering the length, you'd think it would become slightly boring, but every section lost the perfect length for it to stay interesting. I enjoyed it so much that I actually felt sad that it was over. Some of my favourite parts are the star section, the big climax, and the tree decorations. Well Rested has a nod I didn't originally use, but after listening to it, no exaggeration became one of my favourite songs, so I think I'm going to repeat it. It's just such a pleasure to play that I would do that happily. I absolutely couldn't have foreseen this before playing, but I think this has overtaken Say It Back to become my favourite medium demon. But I've yapped about this level long enough now, significantly more than any other level on this channel. So let's move on. We move on from the highest of highs to the lowest of lows, with Sirius. In 2.0, this funny game level was revolutionary, as it was the first level to contain a complex custom boss fight. but it's pretty safe to say it's aged like milk. The first 45% is made up of incredibly easy gameplay, barely demon difficulty, including a long uninteresting auto path. Then you are thrusted into the first boss fight section, which is one of the least enjoyable sections in the level I played. The projectiles move so quickly that it's incredibly difficult to tell where they go, and it never really got consistent for me. The second half of the wave and the ending robot are a lot easier to learn in comparison, but unfortunately, it's just 10% of the level that feels like a complete lottery, making the experience immeasurably worse. Now, that's all the medium demons I picked done, but to end this video off, I have some gauntlet medium demons to beat. Let's start off with the second NCS gauntlet, where the last 3 levels are medium demons. The first gauntlet medium demon I beat was Neo Zenith. The gameplay in this level was quite unorthodox, with it mostly being comprised of sideways swing and the minigame section in the middle. The minigame plays similarly to the ship game though, but once again facing in a different direction. This takes up a substantial portion of the level that's kept fresh as the second half adds new mechanics, with gravity portals and an energy mechanic, so you have to go through certain portals. Due to the lengthy minigame part and the widely unusual gameplay, this does take a bit of time to get the hang of. Once you do, it's barely an easy demon in my opinion. I don't think this will stay medium demon for long. After that I beat Mistro, a quite controversial level. I've seen this level get a lot of backlash online for lag issues and poor gameplay, but turning on LDM solved my problems. There was no lag and less visual clutter made the gameplay clearer, but it still looked good enough for a standalone level. Speaking of the visuals, even with LDM, this level is absolutely beautiful. It goes for what I would call a traditional Japanese style, with also dynamic movement which match the high tempo song. I like how the creator used lots of basic decorations smartly to create something unique looking. I feel like this level would have been received a lot better if it was uploaded in the LDM state. The final NCS gauntlet level is WannaCry, another controversial level, but one which I think is actually really good. I'm not sure the best way to describe this level, but I think of its theme as a virus going rogue on your computer. This level starts with a slightly janky 3D gameplay section, but putting it at the beginning of the level is a smart move, as it minimised the unfairness of the death there. Another bit that stood out to me was the swing section at the midpoint with the glitched monitors. I like to think of this as the virus beginning to infect your device. Then comes the drop, an increasingly chaotic and hazy game. This is the virus completely destroying your system. I will admit towards the end the visuals can get a bit cluttered, but because of the storytelling it felt justified. Another overhated NCS level in my opinion. Let's take a quick stop in the Death Gauntlet with its final level, the Behemoth. Being in an early 2.1 gauntlet, this is obviously an early 2.1 level, so it relies quite heavily on glow and basic blocks for decoration. Despite this, they use quite well to create an unsettling dungeon theme that creates an incredible mood for the ending boss fight, helped even further by the section right before feeling slow and ominous, fitting the song perfectly. Speaking of the boss fight, it's definitely the hardest part of the level, making the completion extra satisfying, exacerbated by the length of this level nearing 3 minutes. On the surface, the Behemoth may seem like a fairly generic early 2.1 boss fight demon, but the incredible mood and tension makes it heavily stand out for me. Let's end this video off on the Water Gauntlet, which contains the last 4 medium demons for today. Starting off with Trek, which has a really interesting gameplay mechanic where you turn into the ship game mode while underwater, but I wish this was utilised a bit more. I'm a massive fan of the visuals. Most of the level takes place in a minimalist style forest that uses simplicity to the maximum. There's lots of wooden platforms that allow for diverging paths, keeping the gameplay fresh, but I do think there could have been a bit more variation in the different sections looks-wise. The 2 drops have sections that differ from the forest separate. The first drop being in an underwater cave, and the second is satisfying sprint above the treetops and then through a rocky river. It stood out to me the most as a result. Don't get me wrong, this is still a really fun and unique level, easily one of my favourite medium demons. It's just that some of the visuals are a little overused in my opinion. Next up is Stroll, with its main characterising trait is the long ship sections it has, the main one spanning all the way from 11 to 53%. However, this long ship section is way more difficult than anything else in the level, with the final half being insultingly easy in comparison, barely 7-star gameplay in my opinion. This level had my heart rate all the way up at only 50%, which I don't think has ever happened in any other level I've played. I saw many people complaining about the dual transitions in the long ship section, but I never had any issues with it. It was just unbalanced, not inconsistent. In my opinion, this is an overhated level and also an easy game. It would probably be a medium though if everything was as hard as the level 53. The third medium demon of the Water Gauntlet is fittingly called Ocean Rush. This is a mega club hosted by Surfpunch with many of the community's favourite creators, but I didn't enjoy this level a massive amount. My main issue was that the majority of the parts were quite uninteresting. There wasn't anything wrong with the visuals, but by and large they were fairly generic with only a vague clue. Well, I do want to mention the Volvo section, which was a breath of fresh air. There were some cool sections, my favourite being the tile bar, but considering some of this level's creators, I feel like there were many missed opportunities. And the final level of the award scoring, as well as the final level of this video, is CPO Blitz. This level is quite controversial due to one particular part which I'll get to later. In terms of premise, this level is quite similar to Ocean Rush, being a water-themed mega collab, but also controversially, I prefer this significantly. This is because the individual parts are just way more interesting, separate and unique. Some of my favourite parts include the wave riding section and when you're inside of a tsunami wave. CPO Blitz goes for a seaside theme instead of the vague water theme Ocean Rush has, which benefits it greatly. But I think it's time to address the elephant in the room, the infamous volleyball part. While it is a little unclear at first, once you understand what you're supposed to click, it does feel less random when you die. However, I will admit that this is a little janky, but the rest of the gameplay feels so fair and smooth that I'd get to that part regularly. Well, that's every medium demon beaten for this video, but it has been quite a while since my last upload, so I feel like you're welcome to a sneak peek from what's to come soon.